Hey Reddit, I'm still reeling from something that happened exactly a year ago, and even though so much has changed, I keep replaying that day in my head, wondering if I handled it all wrong. I really need some outside perspective on whether I was the asshole here. Let me set the scene. Last year, I, 23F at the time, now 24, graduated from nursing school. This was a massive deal for my family. No one, absolutely no one, in our immediate or extended family had ever earned a degree before. I'd worked my butt off for 4 grueling years, balancing studies with a part-time job, dealing with late-night shifts at clinicals, and just generally pushing myself to the brink. So, my parents, bless their hearts, wanted to go all out. They decided to throw a huge graduation party at their house, inviting literally everyone, family, friends, neighbors, even some of my professors. It was supposed to be my day, a moment of immense pride and celebration. Enter my older sister, Chloe, then 26F, now 27. Chloe was, and still is, 8 months pregnant at the time of the party, due any day, and with her husband, Mark, then 28M, now 29. On the surface, things seemed okay. Chloe had even offered to help my mom with decorations earlier that week, which was surprisingly thoughtful for her. I genuinely thought, maybe for once, she was just happy for me, no strings attached. Oh, how naive I was. To understand why this all exploded, you need to understand Chloe. She has always had an insatiable need to be the center of attention. It's been a recurring theme throughout my entire life, almost like a dark cloud hovering over every significant moment I ever had. When I got into my top choice nursing program, a moment I'd dreamt of since I was a little girl playing doctor with my stuffed animals, Chloe announced her engagement to Mark at the family dinner celebrating my acceptance. It wasn't just a casual mention. She brought out a ring, talked about wedding plans, and had everyone oohing and awing while my acceptance letter sat crumpled on the counter. My parents just laughed it off. Oh, Chloe, always so dramatic, but I felt a familiar sting. Then there was my high school graduation. I was valedictorian, something I'd worked relentlessly for. I'd written a speech, practiced it 100 times, and was genuinely excited. Guess what happened? Chloe, who'd dropped out of community college after a semester, announced she was pregnant with her first child, which turned out to be a false alarm/scare, at our grandmother's 80th birthday dinner, just a week before my graduation. The entire focus shifted. All the conversations were about Chloe's supposed pregnancy, potential baby names, and how she was finally settling down. My graduation felt like an afterthought. My parents would always say, just let her have her moment, Sarah. She's sensitive. It's not a competition. But it felt like one, and I was always losing. This pattern continued, my first real relationship, my first car, getting my first big girl job, something Chloe had struggled with, bouncing between retail gigs. Every time I had something good happen, something I achieved, Chloe would find a way to hijack the spotlight. She'd either announce something big or fabricate drama to pull everyone's attention back to her. It bred a deep, simmering resentment in me, which I tried to bury because she's family, and she's your sister. My parents, bless their conflict-averse hearts, were always peacekeepers, which often meant enabling Chloe and dismissing my feelings. Just let it go, Sarah. It's not worth the fight. So, fast forward to my nursing graduation party. The weather was perfect, the food was delicious, and the backyard was packed with people I loved. I was floating, truly. People were congratulating me, reminiscing about my journey, and I felt genuinely seen and celebrated. For a few blissful hours, it felt like my moment was finally, unequivocally, mine. I was chatting with my Aunt Carol and Uncle Rick near the grill, laughing about some ridiculous story from my clinical rotations, when I felt a strange shift in the atmosphere. Conversations around me started to quiet down, heads turned, and an uncomfortable hush fell over the crowd. I looked around, trying to figure out what was happening, and then I saw her. Chloe. She was standing across the patio, near the dessert table, where she had apparently been for a while, just watching me. Her hands were on her heavily pregnant belly, and her face was contorted into this look of intense, heartbroken betrayal. My stomach dropped. I knew that look. It was the precursor to a Category 5 Chloe hurricane. Then, she started. Not a whisper, not a quiet word to Mark, but a full-blown, projection-level shout that cut through the already hushed crowd like a knife. Sarah! She shrieked, her voice cracking, how could you? On my sister's special day, you're trying to seduce my husband? While I'm 8 months pregnant? The words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Every single eye in the yard was on me. My heart started hammering against my ribs, and I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. Seduce Mark? Mark, my brother-in-law? Mark, who was literally just standing next to her, looking like he'd seen a ghost. It was so absurd, so outlandish, so Chloe. What are you talking about, Chloe? I managed to stammer, my voice barely a whisper in the sudden silence. I was just talking to Aunt Carol and Uncle Rick. I haven't even spoken to Mark since I said hello to you both when you arrived. But she wasn't listening. She took a dramatic step forward, clutching her belly. Don't lie to me, Sarah. I saw you. All night. Batting your eyelashes, leaning in, laughing too loud at his jokes. She was sobbing now, big, theatrical tears streaming down her face. You're trying to steal my husband. You're always trying to take everything good from me. I felt a surge of pure, unadulterated rage. This was it. This was her latest, most egregious attempt to ruin my day, and she was doing it by fabricating a monstrous lie that painted me as a homewrecker at my own damn graduation party. All those years of suppressed anger, of being told to just let it go, of watching her derail every milestone I ever had, it all bubbled to the surface. Are you serious, Chloe? I yelled back, my voice shaking with fury. You are truly unbelievable. What is wrong with you? This is my party. My graduation. And you're making up insane lies to make yourself the victim, again? The noise level in the yard slowly started to rise as whispers broke out. My parents, who had been chatting happily by the food table, now looked mortified, rushing towards us. Chloe just sobbed harder, pointing a trembling finger at me. You're sick, Sarah. You're jealous. You've always been jealous of me. And now you're going after my husband when I'm carrying his child. And that's when it happened. Something no one, not even Chloe, could have anticipated. Mark, who had been standing beside her, silent and pale, suddenly stepped forward. His face was a mixture of deep shame, simmering anger, and a bizarre kind of resolve. He cleared his throat, and his voice, though quiet at first, carried surprising weight in the stunned silence. Chloe, stop. Chloe looked at him, tears still streaming. Mark, baby, tell her. Tell her she's a liar. Tell her she's trying to ruin our family. Mark just shook his head slowly, his eyes fixed on Chloe, but not with comfort or support. There was something hard in them. No, Chloe. You're the liar. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Chloe froze, her sobs cutting off abruptly. She stared at Mark, bewildered. Mark took a deep breath, and then the dam broke. This baby you're carrying, he said, his voice now loud and clear, echoing across the yard. It's not mine. The silence that followed was so profound it felt deafening. You could have heard a pin drop. My parents stopped dead in their tracks, mouths agape. Mark continued, his voice laced with a raw, painful honesty. I found the texts, Chloe. All of them. With Leo. Saying how you wished he was the father, how you were going to tell me it was mine, how you were tired of pretending. He pulled out his phone, his hand shaking slightly, and held it up, scrolling through something on the screen. You want to talk about seduction? You want to talk about betrayal? How about you explain this to everyone, Chloe? How about you explain why you're accusing my sister-in-law of flirting when you've been sleeping with your coworker for months? He then started reading snippets aloud from the texts, clear as day. Messages about stolen moments, can't wait to see you again, my love, wish we could be a real family, and Mark has no idea, he's so clueless. The name Leo came up repeatedly. It was brutal. It was public. And it was devastating. Chloe's face went from pale to ghostly white. Her eyes darted around the crowd, filled with a mixture of horror and desperation. The theatrical sobs were gone, replaced by a choked, guttural sound. The truth, ugly and undeniable, was laid bare for everyone to see. My own shock slowly gave way to a fresh wave of blinding fury. Not just at Chloe for her endless theatrics and lies, but at the sheer audacity of her public accusation, her attempt to completely derail my day with such a heinous, unfounded lie, all while she was hiding something so monumental. The years of resentment, of being sidelined, of having my moments stolen, of being dismissed by my parents, it all coalesced into a molten core of anger inside me. I looked at Chloe, really looked at her, and saw not a fragile, pregnant woman, but the architect of all my past pain, now trying to destroy my present joy. You have the nerve? I spat, taking a step towards her. You stand here, pregnant with another man's child, accusing me of flirting with your husband? You are a disgusting, manipulative liar. And that was it. The breaking point. All the unspoken words, all the swallowed resentments, all the quiet hurt of a lifetime of being overshadowed, exploded. I don't even remember who threw the first physical blow. 1 second I was yelling, the next, I was lunging, and Chloe, despite her pregnancy, reacted with surprising speed and force. It was a messy, desperate flurry of pushes, shoves, and flailing arms. We were grappling, clawing at each other, fueled by years of unresolved conflict and raw, immediate betrayal. My cap went flying, a chair overturned, and the partygoers, who minutes before had been frozen in shock, now surged forward, a chaotic wave trying to separate us. My parents, finally reaching us, jumped into the fray, their faces etched with horror. My dad wrapped his arms around me, pulling me back, while my mom tried to restrain Chloe, who was still screaming obscenities and trying to break free. It was chaos. Utter, complete, mortifying chaos. My graduation party, the culmination of years of hard work, ended in a screaming, public brawl between sisters. Immediately after we were pulled apart, Mark, looking utterly heartbroken and defeated, simply stated, "I'm done, Chloe. Done with the lies. Done with you." He walked straight out the front door, got into his car, and drove away without a backward glance. The party disintegrated. People started making awkward excuses, grabbing their belongings, and leaving. My parents were shattered, their dreams of a joyful celebration in ruins. Chloe, after realizing Mark was truly gone and that everyone had heard everything, stopped fighting and just crumpled into a heap of desperate sobs. She pulled out her phone and called a friend to pick her up, still muttering through tears, "Everyone's against me. They all hate me." In the days that followed, the silence in our house was deafening. I was a wreck. The elation of graduating was completely overshadowed by the emotional fallout. I couldn't stop replaying Chloe's past actions, her constant need for attention, and my parents' refusal to truly address it. They had always preached family harmony, but that harmony had always come at my expense. Any time I tried to bring up how Chloe's behavior affected me, or how unfair it was that she always stole my thunder, I'd get the same response: "Oh, Sarah, she's just insecure," or "She doesn't mean anything by it, you two need to get along," or the classic, "Just ignore it." They enabled her, plain and simple, and their enabling allowed her to escalate her antics to this catastrophic level. I felt a profound sense of injustice, not just from Chloe, but from my parents too, for never truly having my back in these situations. A few days later, my parents sat me down. They looked exhausted, heartbroken. We had a long, agonizing conversation. For the first time, they actually listened. They listened to me recount every instance, every stolen moment, every time I felt dismissed. And, to their credit, they finally acknowledged their role in enabling Chloe. My mom admitted she always thought Chloe was fragile and needed more attention, and my dad just wanted peace. They saw, in the starkest possible terms, where their approach had led. They made a decision. They told me that Chloe was banned from family events until she made a public, sincere apology for her behavior at my party. Not just to me, but to them, to Mark, and to anyone else she had falsely accused or hurt. They said that harmony built on lies and enabling wasn't harmony at all. Meanwhile, Chloe was facing the very real consequences of her actions. Mark filed for divorce within a week. He demanded a paternity test for the baby, and as he had revealed at the party, it confirmed his fears: he was not the biological father. The father was indeed Leo, Chloe's co-worker, who, upon hearing the news, apparently wanted nothing to do with Chloe or the baby. A year has passed since that day. The fallout continues to ripple through our family. Chloe gave birth to a beautiful little girl, Lily. But Chloe has struggled immensely. She's been diagnosed with severe postpartum depression, and honestly, even before the baby, she always struggled with adult responsibilities. She's been living with my parents this entire year, unable to care for Lily adequately on her own. My parents, who are in their late 50s, have essentially become Lily's primary caregivers. They love Lily dearly, but it's a massive burden for them, both financially and emotionally. Chloe barely leaves her room, relies entirely on them, and shows no real signs of taking responsibility for her life or her child. My relationship with Chloe is fractured beyond repair. We barely speak, and when we do, it's terse and strained. She still hasn't apologized for the party incident, not truly. She sometimes makes vague statements like, "I was under a lot of stress," but never directly acknowledges her false accusation or the pain she caused. I see Lily every week when I visit my parents, and my heart breaks for that innocent child, caught in the middle of this mess. I try to help my parents as much as I can, taking Lily for a few hours, helping with chores, but the weight of it all is heavy. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder, did I go too far? Should I have just swallowed my anger, yet again, and tried to diffuse the situation more calmly? What if I hadn't confronted her so aggressively? What if Mark hadn't chosen that exact moment to drop his bombshell? Would my graduation party have been saved? Would our family be less broken? Did my anger, righteous as it felt, make me the asshole for contributing to such a public, devastating implosion? Or was it an inevitable consequence of years of enabling and unaddressed toxicity? So, Reddit, I need your honest opinions. AITA?